Hi, I'm Walter, I'm the Dutch Mentor, and welcome back to the Smart Performance Podcast, where S stands for self-care and for mindful growth, A for adaptive problem solving, R for rhythmic operation, T for building that thriving community, and of course, P for performance. I'm really happy to have Renee with me today because we're going to have an interesting topic about personal branding. And she just told me a little secret. I don't want to say it out loud, but there's a catchphrase there, and I want you to stick around. As always, we're going to do something with the information today because otherwise you will have forgotten about us by tomorrow morning. Renee, thank you very much for joining me today, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure. So I am Renee Carbone Fleming. I am actually very blessed to say that I am a award-winning top empowerment and personal branding coach of the decade. I just got notification that I'm getting this incredible award. I've been on the NASDAQ billboard as a top empowerment coach. I basically help women unleash their inner badass queen, build their $100,000 fuck it fund, and build their personal brands.
Listen, who does not want to hear more about the badass fuck it fund? It sounds like a really good catchphrase, and it certainly gets people's attention. And by the way, men, don't run away. Yes, this is directed for women, but the part of women is men, M-A-N, the last three letters of that. I'm sure you can pick up some really good stuff on that as well. All right, listen, as always, let's establish a problem statement. Why is this important? Why should people even be bothered by doing this? What is the problem?
You know what? I think I've been saying this for a long time, everybody needs a personal brand. And that's whether or not you are an entrepreneur or you work a traditional job, because companies are looking for who's going to be their spokesperson, their ambassador for the company. And without a personal brand, you are silent, you are forgotten. It's all about visibility. So I help both men and women. Granted, my audience tends to be more women, but I help both build their personal brands, regardless whether or not you want you want a business or you want to find your next chapter.
It is very interesting indeed when I speak to my clients and as they come in, and many people will say, "Oh, I'm ready to be interviewed," but then they wonder why they are not hired. And I ask them one simple question: I said, "Tell me your why." Well,
Yeah,
first of all, they all love to tell you the how and what, but they don't really know and understand their why. And within the why is their personal brand, right? And if they don't quite understand it, they can certainly not articulate it. And often what they say is very consultative. In other words, they sound like everybody else, and therefore
right.
you're totally forgettable. And then
Yeah.
you're surprised, how come I didn't get that phone call back? So spending time on self-awareness, personal branding is critically important. So, all right, now that we have the problem statement that everybody needs to do this, not some people, but everybody needs to do this, start building this. Give me some building blocks on what people need to do in order to establish their personal brands.
So I call it the watch me method. Back when I was building my business, it was from a divorce. So I needed to figure out, how am I going to be different than anybody else selling the same product out there? It was through a network marketing company. So I was doing personal branding before I even knew it was a thing. And what I started with is I started writing watch me on post-it notes. And I put it all over my office, put it in my car, put it in the bathroom mirror, because people will doubt your ability to achieve whatever. And I have this grit and this watch me attitude. What that turned into was basically a business philosophy without me even recognizing that it was back then. And the W is withdraw from explanation. A is to act before approval. T is to take up space publicly. C is to commit without consensus. And H is to hold the vision when no one else does. And it's really important that we embrace that as we're building, because especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're building a business, we tend to have in our circle perhaps people that don't understand what we're doing or why we're doing it. And because out of fear for themselves, they don't recognize that there is a huge opportunity for you. So they may be more traditional in nature. And that's why it's really important to continuously hold that vision, even if no one else does. If you know in your core and every fiber that this is something you want to do, that's that whole watch me vibe.
I love it, and I think it is pretty catchy. And I love the fact that you started off humble by reminding yourself, watch me, right? It's something that I've seen it time and time and again that people love to start something, but after 2 or 3 attempts or 2 or 3 weeks, it all goes down
Yeah.
because it's not sustainable itself. So over
Yeah.
the next 10 minutes, because give me a 2 minute version of each of the letters that represents that to give people a flavor of that. And at minute 15, you get to tell everybody where to find you and what books to read. So, but give them a little teaser, actionable takeaways for the. So let's start with the W, the
Yeah,
withdrawal.
so withdraw from explanation. If you have a vision, and with the vision, you got to create your plan, and and you have to execute. That withdraw from explanation, you don't owe anybody an explanation as to what you're doing or why you're doing it. If you know in your core, like when I said I'm building Badass Queen Wine brand, that's going to come out in October. People are like, "What are you? How are you building a brand?" I don't have to explain anything. I know that this is something I want to do, and if I know that I have the tools, the capability, the grit. I call it the PhD. If I have passion, heart, and desire, I can freaking do anything. So I don't owe anybody an explanation. The A, act before approval. If I have a concept and an idea of what I want to do, I'm going to try it. Is everything going to be successful? Heck no. Am I going to fail a lot? Absolutely. But if I find that this is something I can do and I want to try, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to ask anybody to approve it. The T, take up space publicly, that is visibility. Oftentimes, we know that it's not necessarily the most capable person that will get hired as, a coach or a job, whatever that is, but it really is who's the most visible. And that take up space publicly that doesn't mean that you have to be, loud like I am, but you have to be present. And that's what the take up space. The C is to commit without consensus. Is That's really important, because if I asked my mother, who was a very traditional, you go to school, you get a job, you die a slow death. That's the philosophy. If I asked her for her opinion or help and support on how do I build, that's I can't ask a consensus of people that don't understand how to do that. So you have to, surround yourself with like-minded people. That's always a positive and great thing to do. And that's why I created a community. But commit without consensus. Don't ask people who don't understand your vision or hasn't walked that path before. You can ask people's opinion. I'm not saying don't ask people's opinion and advice, because that's, more people have made the mistakes. So it's great to be able to learn from them. And that's why coaching accelerates success, right? The H is to hold the vision when no one else does. And I do this because there's a lot of times in our journey where we're like this. Not everything is wonderful. I mean, I started off by sharing, some amazing accomplishments, recognition that I'm getting. But there are days where, as entrepreneurs, we're like, that's it. I'm done. I'm throwing in the towel. So I have to hold that vision, because I know in every fiber of my being that why that you spoke about, right? I know my why, and I know that I was meant for this particular path.
I love the enthusiasm, the vision, the inspiration that you get out of it. And of course, we have to remember that the biggest battle we fight is our own brain. And we have to remember that 2/3 of that brain is negative, right? It's the naysayer within us. It's really when we start promoting our positive brain by visioning and using watch, right? Is making sure you don't stand in your own way of success, to fail fast and fail forward and through iteration itself. It is about getting people's opinion, but don't chase every opinion as a truth, right? It's really when you go through a validation process. I always kid around and say to people, said, listen, when you come to me and said, listen, my hair looks funny, I tell you to go F off, right? The second person comes to me and says, Walter, your hair looks funny. I say, whatever. The third person comes to me and says, Walter, your hair looks funny. Well, I better go to the mirror and look at it, because likely my hair looks funny, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
thing is with business too, is that hang on to that vision, like you say, but once you hear it 2, 3, 5, 10 times, there's some truth to it where you have to start making some adjustments itself. So it's really good. The other thing is I want to go back to a little bit is that many people have this traditional 9 to 5 trap that they're in. No different than I did. I worked as a paramedic and a flight paramedic. I worked as a healthcare executive, and it wasn't important. My vision was always to be an entrepreneur. And I needed to get out of that mode of, listen, I need to bring a secure paycheck home, knowing exactly how much I'm going to get paid to the unknown, right? Being an entrepreneur is scary because some days you are flush, other days you are like, oh my God, like, do I need to go back and put my suit back on, right? So talk a little bit about when people start building their personal brand, because that's really where the hesitation is. And that's where the people are often not following through on their vision itself. What do you tell people in the very beginnings as they finally come to the realization, let's establish my personal brand, let's open up the doors for whatever it is that they want to do, but then what?
So the first thing, and I love that you talked about mindset because that really is the foundation of all of this and what keeps us going. So I have a miracle morning, and I'm sure you've heard a lot about miracle mornings. Part of my miracle morning is I listen to my future life script. So what I do is I suggest to everyone to create a future life script. And what I mean by that is, yes, I love vision boards, manifesting. I look at, goal sheets, all of that stuff. But what I did is I wrote down exactly how I want my life to look like a year from now. How much money I am earning every month, how many clients I have, where I travel, who I travel with, how often, how I'm living, how I'm spending my time, all of that. And I sat with it and like I love the beach. And so like I sat with it and I'm like visioning the beach and I can smell the ocean and I did all of that. So I wrote that all down. But then what I did is I got my phone and I opened up my voice memo app and I recorded myself as if I've already achieved it, as if this is how I'm living. This is what I get to do. And every morning before my feet hit the floor, I listen to, as I'm having my coffee in bed, I listen to my future life script, part of my miracle morning. And that just gets me like, holy shit. I'm like, I am a badass. Like it's so exciting and inspiring because then I'm like, this is why I'm doing it. So even on the days, because we all have those days that we're not feeling as inspired, or I might not be feeling as badassery as I want to be, I listen to that and I'm like, that is why I'm doing this. So future life script, that's the first thing that everybody should be doing, whether you're working a job or an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
That's
I love the enthusiasm spills over. I think it is the priming that we're talking about is no different. I always say that the reason why a soldier is required to make his or her bed first thing in the morning is to make sure you get into the right mindset for the day. It's I don't care if you write down 5 words of gratitude, if you do your priming, but you have to do the mental exercises first thing in the morning. Because it will help you overcome your negative brain, right? Because your negative brain will be there all day long telling you you're not good enough, you can't do this, nobody will want to hire you, this is going to be nothing else but bad, there's just
yeah.
another. And if you listen to that, you fall into that trap, and most people do. They give up too early, and you'll never get to to that breakthrough moment that you actually get to set up that. I think you referred to it, the fuck it fund, which
The
is kind of.
fucking fun. Yep.
All right, so listen, we have 2 minutes until we get to where people can find you. What is it that you would like to tell women, men, all of us on what to do first? What is the
The first
action
thing,
step they
well,
should
is
take today?
Well, the thing is to decide what is it that you want, right? So if you want to become a coach, and a lot of people love coaching, consulting, whatever that looks like, what is your unique voice, right? What is different about you? What is a common theme that people come to you and ask questions for? Why your voice? So for me, like when I was building my business, I had to figure out how I am different from everyone else. When I love on everyone else and the rising tide lifts all boats, I want everyone to succeed. But the way I deliver something is very different than the way somebody else does. I recognized early on that because I had role models, I tended to I thought I needed to act their way. And when I embraced and said, okay, who is my ideal avatar, right? So we talk about ideal avatars, what's your niche, all of that good stuff. But who is my customer, my client? And I really looked into what her pain points are. Like I know exactly who she is, what keeps her up at night, why she's struggling, how she's feeling. And I answer that in my unique way. So what I suggest to everyone is to figure out what is it that people come to you for, because that would be a clue as to what you should be doing. if they come to you? What are you passionate about? What can you talk about 100 million times and not even get paid for? Because that's the other thing that people tend to think of first is, I want to make money. I'm going to try and make money doing this. If you're chasing the money, you're not going to have the success. You might, but you're not going to have the success and the fulfillment. I freaking love what I do because I am so damn passionate about helping women to not be stuck, and men. I never want somebody to come to me going, I'm too broke, too old, too uneducated, I don't know enough, all of those negative things. It's never too late to start something new. But how they do it is based on their uniqueness. I know I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. I prefer coffee anyway, but there are plenty of coaches. So when people look at, and even I have clients that come on calls like exploratory clarity calls, I encourage them to go look at other coaches. I might not be the right fit for them, and that's okay. There's plenty of us out there, right? So when somebody's like, well, there's a million coaches, why would I coach? Nobody coaches like you.
Yeah. Yeah,
Nobody
I know
coaches
that
like
to
you.
that and a really strong second point. Also, know your value. I see way too many people, they go out and they start underselling themselves, and that is not good either. But that's a separate conversation from the personal brand. Renee, I love again the concept of watch. I like the fact, the key point that you hit on. Where can people find you?
They can find me on any social media platform, Renee Carbone Fleming, my website, reneecarbonefleming.com, badassqueen.co. You can find me anywhere.
Okay, very good. I mean, that's the way to go. And again, I would encourage all the listeners, right? Again, without action, you don't get any results. It is not, doing it once, but really learning how to stick to it. It is your behavior that holds you back every single day of the week. There's lots of people out there that can help you. Again, without a coach or a mentor, really think about that. No athlete went to the Olympics last summer without having a good coach and mentor. Sure, and you should do the same thing and make that investment into yourself. Especially important to get over the hump and make sure you get onto the right track. Renee, give me a final parting thought.
You know what? I'm going to share a book, although I am an author and people can find my books on Amazon. But there's one book that I really love sharing, and people have so much insight. It's called 3 Feet from Gold. You're familiar with Napoleon Hill?
Yes, Napoleon
And
Hill.
you Yeah, so 3 Feet from Gold, it really is such a great book to help you keep going, because you could, just when you think you're going to quit, right? You could be 3 feet from gold. So keep that vision, hold that vision tight, and just keep going on.
Excellent. And we're not talking to the gambler who's sitting in Las Vegas hoping for the gold at the
Yeah,
end.
no, no.
The blackjack rainbow, by the way. We're talking
Yeah.
to people who are on.
One more set of cards. I'm going to do it. Yeah, no.
Exactly right. Renee, thank you very much for joining me today. A really interesting conversation. And again, keep your energy going and make sure people reach out to you by going to our website or come to me or find the right coach for you. Again, through meaningful action and measurement, you get the results. If for nothing else, come to my homepage at thedutchmentor.com. There's lots of free resources there too. And join my PLP program, because that's where there's a good starting point, and you will get on your road of success, whatever that is. And in your miracle thought, your priming moment, write it down, speak it out loud, be proud of it, and pursue it, and be relentless about it. Thank you very much, and have a great day, everybody.
Thank you so much.